Good morning and welcome to Sparkle Speak. And this is where we are talking to women, women all over the nation actually, because we're doing Zoom about their faith. And we're trying to connect, inspire, and encourage women in their faith. And this is our very first show. And I know I've been on another Bloomfield TV show, Spectacles, where we were highlighting women in the community. And this time we're highlighting women with their faith. And these are women that have stories and they're going to be quick. It's just a 15-minute program. And our first guest today is Kathryn Calibeo, who we love. She's actually on our Sparkle board. She has a podcast on her own, and you can actually tune into her podcast on Spotify. It's also called Sparkle Speak. And good morning, Kathryn. She's got two little boys who are running around, I know, in the background. She has a full-time job. She's married. She's been married for how many years?
6.5.
6.5 years. And she really does sparkle. I mean, when I met Kathryn the first time, I know that she's just got such a strong faith. And she's our very first guest. And Kathryn, I know you've had a strong faith for a while, but maybe if you could tell us when that started and how that transformed your life.
Yeah, definitely. So like Betsy mentioned, I have 2 young kids right now and a husband. And actually, if you do hear them in the background, I'm sorry. Hopefully they're well behaved. But anyway, I grew up in the Michigan area. I was fortunate enough to have a Christian influence pretty early on in my life. My mom is a very strong believer, and I went to a Christian daycare growing up. My parents both worked full time and worked pretty long hours. So I was very influenced by this Christian daycare, and they really poured into us just the love that Jesus has for us. And so from a really young age, I always believed in God and felt that he was real. But I really didn't understand how faith transformed into my daily life. I understood that it was real and God felt real to me, but I didn't know what that meant for just my normal life. And especially going into high school and college, when you have other influences around you to go to parties and get involved in certain things, I just didn't understand how my belief in God translated into my decisions and how I lived my life. And so that was where I was at spiritually. But then on top of it, I had kind of some family dynamics that happened and some hard things that happened with my family. My parents got divorced, and there were some interesting dynamics with that really impacted me in a negative way. And as a result, I went through kind of a deep depression. At the time, I didn't see it as that. I didn't really know that's what was going on with me because I was 15 years old and still trying to figure out emotions in myself. But looking back on it, I can see that I was very numb. I was very lost. I was very broken and just hurting in a lot of ways, but I didn't really see it for what it was. But I knew something didn't feel right. Something wasn't connecting. And like I said, I was just in this depression. And so in college, I was really lucky. I prayed. I got down on my knees and just said, Lord, I need help. I don't know what this looks like, but I know you're real. And by his grace, he brought in some people in my life that really started to show me what it looks like to connect your faith to your everyday life. How does your belief in God affect how you make decisions? How does it affect who you choose to have in your life and how you interact with them? And so I just started learning how to be in the Word, how to read it and apply it. And I even learned how to do this concept called spiritual breathing, where it's like, how do you invite the Holy Spirit to come into your heart to help you make decisions, to help give you patience and strength and love and peace? And so I really started to learn that. And it was through a Christian organization and just people who loved me and came in to help teach me that I started learning how to connect my faith walk to my daily life. And there was a verse at the time that really meant a lot to me. It was Galatians 6:9. Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time you'll reap a harvest if you do not give up. And the do not give up part meant a lot because it was hard. It was hard to be a Christian in college, and especially when I was surrounded by so many people who weren't following Christ. And so just being reminded that my faith was going to be rewarded, that if I didn't give up and I continued to pursue pure things, things that were of the Lord, and holy things, that I could be promised that one day I would open up my eyes and just see a garden growing around me. And that's really what kept me going in those early days of faith, when I just believed that God is good. And when we choose to follow him, um, he will bless us, and our life will look around and open our eyes and just see beautiful things. And so as I started living that way, I started to see that that's true. And that just fueled my fire to continue pursuing my faith and continue sharing my faith with other people, because I would meet people who were in a depression or a funk or broken the way I had been. And I would just have the strongest desire to say, let me tell you about my Jesus, the one who has started to heal me. And by no means am I perfect. This was about 10 years ago that I started walking with the Lord, and I still am broken. I'm still healing. I'm still figuring it all out. But it's just a daily thing, a daily choice to choose to walk with him. And I do see healing happen from that. So that was kind of how it all started. Now, I did just want to say one thing. This is where I'm at today. It can be really easy to get down on yourself. I think sometimes I look back on that 10-year period that I was in a depression from middle school until, late college. And I can think, man, like if I had just started walking with God sooner, where could I be today? Like I would have made such better decisions. I would have picked a better major in college. I would have like just been a healthier person and had better friendships and done more with my life. And I can get so down on myself, but God pointed me actually recently to this verse. It's in Joel chapter 2, verse 25. And it says, I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have been clinging to that verse pretty much all month, because I'm like, yes, those years feel lost to me. Those years feel like they were so broken that how could any good have come out of those years? But the Lord has promised, like, he's going to return them to me. He's going to make up for that because he loves me, and he cares for me, and he's a gracious father who he extends grace to me for that time. And it's not that he doesn't hold us accountable. It's not that we don't have consequences for our sin, but Jesus died for me. And I accepted that. I accepted what he did into my life. And therefore, there's grace. There's grace upon grace upon grace for all the screw ups, all the mess ups, all the time that feels lost or broken. And I just know that he has really good things for me. And so for anyone listening to this, if you feel like you've had a season in your past or are currently in a season that just feels really lost, really broken, maybe you've experienced intense loss, whether it's a job or a loved one, or maybe you're just going through a hard time, can't see clearly where you're going, just know that God has promised to return those years to you. And blessings always follow obedience. So let's obey him and see the blessings that come from it.
Yeah. And sometimes, I love that about the grace and the blessings and waiting for God to reveal himself. And the Joel chapter that you read about restoring, I think that's very important, because some people don't even understand faith until they're, in their 40s, 50s. So at least you were in college. But anyway, no, your boys, I can hear them in the background, but they sound like they're happy. That's a good thing.
Yeah, they're watching a TV show, their favorite one right now. So
yeah. So, but anyway, we so appreciate you sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Or are you good?
No, I think that's great. If you want to check out my podcast, our podcast with Sparkle, it's Sparkle Speak, and you can, find it on Spotify, Apple Music. We have a direct link on our website too, and it's just full of stories, kind of like what we're doing here on this show. And if you, feel like listening to it while you're driving or doing laundry, it's a great way to just be encouraged.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you for your sparkle, Kathryn, the way the way you just light up, and I love seeing that. And has God given you a peace since you've been following him?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I didn't explain that very well, but I did feel pretty much immediately when I gave my life and surrendered fully to Jesus and just said, I can't do this on my own. I need you. The peace has pretty much just been constant ever since. Obviously, there are moments of anxiety and doubt and fear and sadness and all those things, but ultimately, I just have such a different perspective in life than I did before. And I
No,
owe
I
it all
love
to
that.
him.
No, I
Yeah.
love that. Well, anyway, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us on Sparkle Speak, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah.
Have a great
Thanks,
day with your
Betsy.
boys.
So